Are you looking for an easy point and shoot camera? Are you looking for something that's going to give you both stills and video? Today I'm going to be reviewing the Sony RX100 VII. I'm going to tell you if this camera is worth that $1,200 price tag. And that video is coming up next. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian the Camera Guy. On my channel, I review Sony cameras and their lenses. If that's something you're into, consider hitting that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Today, I'm gonna be giving you my personal experience, my hands-on review of the Sony RX100 VII. I wanna thank my friends over at Delaware Camera for loaning me this camera to review for you guys today. Before we get going, let's go ahead and talk about some of the specs from this camera. This camera came out in 2019 with a 20.1 1-inch megapixel sensor. It does shoot 6K video and it downsamples it down to 4K at either 24 or 30 frames per second. It also does 1080p in 24, 30, 60, and 120 frames per second. So you can get slow motion out of this camera. This camera does have image stabilization, so it will smooth out a lot of that footage for you. It does have a slight crop when you go into that stabilization mode though. Speaking of crop, this camera does have a 24 to 200 millimeter Zeiss lens on it. It does not have any ND filters. I also have the Sony RX100 V. Does have a 24 to 70 millimeter lens compared to the 24 to 200 lens. This camera, the R5, does come with built-in ND filters. The Mark VII does not. So if you are looking to shoot video outside, you are gonna have to get some sort of ND system. I do have some arriving tomorrow, so I'll be able to test this outside and see, can this camera compete as a vlogging camera? If you have ND filters, possibly. Otherwise, you're either gonna have to jack up the shutter or you're gonna have to stop down the aperture. If you are shooting outside, you're probably gonna have to use an aperture that's either gonna be 9 to 11, or you're gonna have to break that 180-degree shutter rule. What is the 180-degree shutter rule? Basically what that means is that your shutter speed should be double your frame rate. So for example, if you're shooting in 24 frames per second, you should have a shutter speed that's 1/50th. So if you're shooting in slow motion, maybe not be a problem, because if you're shooting at 120 frames per second, you're gonna have a shutter speed of 125, which when you're outside, you could probably get away without using an ND filter. If you were gonna use this camera for vlogging, you are gonna need to invest in some sort of ND filter, or you're gonna have to change the aperture or shutter speed. Now, this camera does have a flip up screen, so you can view yourself in the flip up screen. The downside is, if you notice right here, right along the edge, you won't be able to see what your settings are. So you'd have to set your settings and then use this as a flip up screen just to frame yourself. This camera does take incredible still images. This is basically like a mini A9 Mark II. It does have the eye autofocus for both stills and video. Now, face detect has always been good enough, but the addition of the eye autofocus, it really does a great job of catching the eye and not losing track of your subject. Now, this camera does have a built-in microphone system. It also has dedicated mic jack port and an HDMI out. So you can actually use this camera as a live streaming camera. The downside is with that 1-inch sensor, you're gonna have to increase a lot of light unless you have a really well-lit room. Unfortunately, it does have a micro USB charging port. I don't know why USB-C was available at the time. Now, this camera does have an EVF, so it does pop up, but primarily most people would probably be using this flip screen or the back of the camera to take their pictures. Now, I have relatively maybe above average hands, and this camera is very tiny. It's extremely tiny. It is a little bit uncomfortable for me to hold because it is so small. But if you're looking for something that will slip easily into your pocket, this camera is gonna do that. So you can slip it right into your pocket and be ready to go at any moment's notice. Now, if you're into still pictures, this thing does shoot in RAW and JPEG, and it does take advantage of that full 20.1 megapixel sensor. So you are gonna be able to capture some really great images out of this camera. The other nice thing that I really like about this camera is it's got that tap to focus. So you can use the back of the screen to do tap to focus. It also has touch tracking. So basically, like I said, this thing is basically a baby A9 Mark II, all crammed into this small little camera. With the addition of the flip screen, this camera is very versatile. It can give you some really good image quality from a really small 1-inch sensor. Also, this camera has no record limits. As long as you have power and memory, you can keep recording on this thing for virtually ever. Without that record limit, it also makes it a little bit easier to live stream or to do video chats and use this thing as a webcam. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead throw this up onto my tripod, and you can see what the image quality looks like coming straight out of this camera to see, could this camera be used as a studio camera? So let's go ahead and throw it up there right now. All right, so now this is my Sony a6400, but instead we have the Sony RX100 VII up on the tripod right now. I can tell you this, I do like the flip up screen a little bit better on this one. It seems a little bit brighter. It also seems to be a little bit larger, so it seems to be easier to see than my a6400. One of the other things that I forgot to mention is this comes with full picture profiles. It comes with S-Log 2 and 3, and it does come with HLG 1, 2, and 3. That 1-inch sensor is gonna need a lot of light, so that's one of the downsides with it. Now, the good news is that when you're outside, you're gonna get enough light. So what we'll do is we'll jump outside and we'll give it a quick vlogging test, but this is the image quality that you could expect to receive if you were using this camera as an in-home studio camera. So let's go ahead, jump outside and see what the vlogging looks like. So let's go ahead and test out the 4K stabilization at 24 frames per second. So this is the stabilization test outside on the vlogging test. I got the Rode Video Micro hooked up, and I did get a magnetic ND filter set. So how is the stabilization? I got it on just like a Joby GorillaPod. Yeah, it's not too bad. You can definitely see the eye autofocus as well. f2.8. Let's try out the Rode Wireless Go with this camera and see how the audio quality sounds with that. So now we have the 4K image stabilized with the ND filter. If you want to see a video about the Rode Wireless Go, which I'm wearing right now, I'll go ahead and link that up in the cards above. Go ahead and check out that video. This camera also has an HM arm setting. It can give you either 240 frames, 480 frames, or 960 frames, and then it will convert that in the camera down to either 24, 30, or 60 frames per second. So you can create some super slow motion with it. I'll go ahead and show you a sample of that right now. Okay, so that's a little gimmicky, but we'll test out the 1080p at 24 frames per second. So now we have the 1080p 24 frames per second, and this is with the intelligent active stabilization. Pretty stable. I don't know, you see any warpy stuff going on in the corners? But this would be at 1080p, 24 frames per second using intelligent active. And I'm walking pretty normal. This would be your stabilization at 1080 at 24 frames per second. This is without an ND filter, and you can see that it's very blown out. Got my magnetized ND filter, and now we have proper exposure. So if you're interested in picking up this camera, I'll put links down in the description below, along with links to this magnetized ND filter system that I found. So if you get an ND system, could this be a vlogging camera? Absolutely. It's nice and light, compact. You got the flip up screen so you can see yourself. You would need to get some sort of bracket or something on the side, or you could get the Rode Wireless Go and attach it to the side of the camera, maybe using Velcro. But could this be a vlogging camera? Absolutely it could, and the stabilization is gonna make it even easier. Let's go back inside to get my final thoughts. All right, welcome back. Final thoughts. Is the Sony RX100 VII a camera that you should go out and buy? I would say if you're looking for something that can do both stills and video, yes. But if you're looking for something that just does video and you want this small, compact form factor, I'd recommend taking a look at the Sony ZV-1 that Sony just released. That's got a side flip screen that's gonna give you the full screen real estate, where this, like I said, you can't really see what your settings are when the flipped up screen is there, and it does have the eye autofocus. So for video, if you're okay investing into an ND system, yeah, you could definitely use this camera, and the stabilization on it is gonna be really good. So final thoughts are, is this camera worth $1,200? If you're only using it for video, I'd say no. No, it wouldn't be. But if you want the still pictures, then this is a great camera to be able to do both stills and video, and it's gonna fit in your pocket. So is this possibly a very good travel camera? For sure. Throw it in your pocket, you're good to go. It beats bringing around an APS-C sized camera or even a full frame camera. You can't really tuck this bad boy into your pocket, but this camera you can. If you like this video, I'm sure you're gonna like the video on the screen right now about another camera. Go ahead and click on that video. I'll see you on that one. Before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Brian out.